Welcome to the Business Value Exchange. My name is Helen Beckett. I'm the Community Manager. Very pleased today to be talking to David Wild, who is Chief Information Officer at Essex County Council. Welcome, David.
Morning.
You're kind of famed, known in local government circles for being a pioneer in cloud computing. And interestingly enough, I received a report today from Socotim, your the Association for IT Leaders in Local Authorities. And it does say that 90% now of local authorities are using cloud computing to some extent. But there's still a great deal of misunderstanding about different models of it. It'd be great if you could share some of your lessons that you've learned from being an early mover in that market.
Yeah, I mean, the great myths are around, what's public cloud, what's private cloud, what's on-premise, what's off-premise. And I think if you take it back to the really sort of simple basic stuff, which is, public cloud, true public cloud is your consumer service. And private cloud tends to be a more controlled environment, but could be multi-tenanted typically. And for me, I think, if you've got that kind of simple view, you've got a reasonable idea of what cloud is about. The one thing it is, though, I think above all else, it's about using the way technology can provide services to multiple sort of customers, if you like, in a more efficient way than if us doing it all on our own. So it's a bit like thinking about electricity and gas and how that actually gets distributed and delivered. And that sort of works for me. Now, I think local government, I think partly through necessity, have been driving cloud adoption, largely around line of business systems. It makes perfect sense. And I think what's quite exciting over the last year or two is we're not just embracing cloud now, we're actually beginning to embrace social media as a means through which we can communicate with our residents and actually interact. And I think that's quite an exciting turn of events. It then becomes less about cloud as a thing and more around cloud and how it's being used by residents and how we can use it to actually reach out and engage with them.
That does sound exciting. I mean, obviously, cloud is often thought of as being a means of getting cost efficiencies, of getting greater
Indeed.
Scale. But here you're talking about it using as a model to innovate as well and improve engagement with citizens. I mean, what kind of things are you doing with your citizens over the cloud?
Well, we're doing, we actually have a large traded vehicle, something called Target Tracker, which is a business that's run out by education services. And it's used for provisioning sort of pupil data and what have you in a secure way. That's actually run out of an Azure platform, so it's as cloud as you can get. And the reason for that is they have international customers as well as national ones. So, the geographical dependency was not something we could sustain. So cloud was an ideal sort of solution. So that's a good business type solution. That's working with over 2,000 schools in the UK, Falklands, Gibraltar and elsewhere. With our direct engagement with citizens, we're really getting into using Facebook to engage with people out there. We're also using LinkedIn and Facebook increasingly for campaigns. One we've got running right now actually is raising our residents' awareness of their rights around access to information. So we've actually got a running campaign on Facebook which takes them in, explains what the do's and don'ts are, reiterates our responsibility as custodians of their information, and kind of deals with some of the myths and sort of deals with those and realities around what information sharing is about. So it's kind of cool, it's Facebook, it's a campaign. By definition, it's using cloud environments, but what it's also doing, I think, is tackling a really thorny topic in a way that's well informed, and so that's sort of, I think, quite powerful. What we've also used some cloud solutions for simple, again, short-term solutions like Eventbrite. We've used for event management and ticketing and what have you. So we've used that for our country parks in the last 2 summers, and we're looking to scale up that kind of solution. We're only ever going to reach for kind of cloud solutions around those, because what we don't want is to have a dirty, great big on-premise solution that sits there only being used for 2 months of the year. So it kind of makes a lot of sense.
So that, I mean, yeah, there's some really interesting ideas about how you can use public cloud to reach out, engage with citizens, and provide an education service, really. But what about the thorny issue? I mean, this was raised in the new Socotim report about there's still a lot of reservation concern about security, and in particular the accountability of data, personal data that moves through clouds. I mean, how did you tackle that in any platform.
Well, this is where my point earlier around the difference, for me, the difference between public and private really sort of comes home. You know, the fact remains we still need to know where our data is residing from a governmental perspective and from a legislative perspective. And you know, all the discussion that you can have around cloud doesn't change the fact we have an accountability and a responsibility for how we look after that information. That doesn't mean you can't use cloud. What you just have to do is be very, very clear with the people that you're intending to buy from that you need to know how securely the information is being held, where it's being held, where it's at rest, and how it's being handled in transit. These are not difficult questions to answer unless you're a supplier that's looking to not basically comply with the realities of those legislative demands out there. The ongoing discussions with Google and with Amazon and others around the world are just saying it'll be okay isn't good enough. If I don't know what country that information's sitting in and I don't know how that information's gone from A to B and back to A again, not good enough.
Often that is a big concern, isn't it? Overseas suppliers not understanding different jurisdictions and about their data protection, what is required. So thank you. So just a very clear distinction between the public, the private, and the rigorous due diligence exercise that anyone needs to undertake. Thanks for sharing those lessons today, David.
That's all right, no problem. Thank you.